Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead. Before we start, here's just a little news flash. For those of you that hoped that today would be the day that we would talk about our review of the Instant Pot Max, I'm still working on it. It's taken me a whole week to do a lot of research. Plus now I'm going to go into my trials. So it's going to be at least 1 week and maybe 2 more weeks before we publish that video. Today, which is the day after Christmas, we're going to talk about this really cool way to use some of our leftovers. So this is going to be leftover turkey and ham pot pie. And we'll get started on that in just a moment. This is a recipe that I borrowed from the Great British Bake Off, or whatever it's called. I binge watched that, probably 3 or 4 months ago, and was not very successful in baking any of their cakes. But this little recipe really intrigued me, and so I'm going to try it. I will also put a link to the recipe that you can find online. I've changed it a little bit. You can do that too. Here are the ingredients. So we're going to start with melting butter in a pan. This is about 2 tablespoons of butter. This is the juice of 1 orange and the zest of 1 orange. This is 1 leek that is rough chopped. Now I want to show you the size of the leeks that Jim brought home. So there you have it. I mean, this is a leek. So the recipe called for 2 leeks. This is just 1 of those leeks. So that we're going to simmer these for a little bit and then reduce it down. Then we're going to add some flour. This is 3 tablespoons of flour. And then the meat, and we have leftover turkey and ham. Now this is a total of about 3 cups of meat. You can add more meat if you want. You can use all of one kind of meat, just however you would like to do it. And then we're going to add some flavor. This is a spice that we're going to use. Now their recipe calls for tarragon. I don't have any fresh tarragon over in my herb garden in the kitchen window. This is basil. I'm going to use basil instead. This is whole grain mustard, and this is 2 cups of leftover chicken broth. I canned this back in November, in fact a month ago, and I used half of it yesterday in the stuffing for the turkey. And then we're going to add about just a little bit over 3/4 of a cup of cream. And so that's going to be our filling. And then we're going to put it in this pie plate. Now this to me is so exciting. This is what is called a pie bird. I never knew about pie birds, but evidently they were very, very popular in Victorian England. And there's a little place for the steam to enter in, the little holes on the side. And instead of putting slits in the pie crust that's going to cover the top of this, we're going to put the crust over this little pie bird, and the steam escapes then out of the bird's mouth. And I looked up pie birds. I had not been familiar with them before, and my goodness sake, they are collector's items. People collect these. I found some on eBay for over $400. I'm not going to be collecting any, but I thought I would just try this kind of an old-fashioned way to vent the steam out of our pot pie. This morning I'm tired from cooking yesterday. I am not going to make another pie crust. You can either make your own pie crust or do what I'm going to do, which is I'm not going to have a bottom crust. I'm just going to cover the top with puff pastry, with a puff pastry crust. And I think that that will be quite delightful. So we will get started right now. We're going to be moving over to the frying pan where we're going to start by melting the butter. And to this, I'm going to add the orange juice and the zest. And we're going to let the leeks cook in this for a little bit. Now this is going to take 5 or 6 minutes to get this the way they need to be. So we'll come back when we are ready to do what's next. I'm adding the flour as the thickener. And a little bit more. Oh, this is really smelling good. Okay, in goes the cream. The meat. And we're going to put about a teaspoon of this mustard in. And the basil. Okay, we're going to go back over to the pie plate. I'm going to put a little bit of pepper in this. We love fresh ground pepper. And then any salt we'll take care of at the table. Ooh, this just smells so yummy. This will be a nice change from what was on our table yesterday. And because we do not want to put a crust on a hot filling, we're now just going to let this sit and cool for a little bit. So we'll be back when this is cool enough that we can put the, as the British say, the lid on it, the top crust on it. So we'll be back shortly. All right, we are back. This is cool enough, and I am using frozen, pre-prepared puff pastry. So I'm just going to take a minute and roll this out a little bit more. Just going to put it right on this board so that we can have it wide enough to fit over the pie. I'm going to just, with this egg, beaten egg, I'm just going to run around the top edge here to help the puff pastry stick to this ceramic dish. We'll see if this works. Okay, now that I know where that is, I'm just going to cut a star right there. I never know which side of these to put down. Now in half. Over the bird and to the edges. And let's cut a few stars. And just do a few decorations here. Okay, now we're just going to do a quick little egg wash over the top of this. I added a little bit of water to the egg. All right, in the oven it goes, and we'll be back when we're taking it out. All right, this has been out of the oven for about 5 minutes and it is done. The crust is beautiful. You can see the decorations, the stars, that egg wash makes them stand out really nicely. Our little bird did a pretty good job, except some steam was escaping around the edges when I opened it up. So now we're going to see what it looks like on the inside. So this is probably meat and gravy. It's very runny. And so we're going to treat it just like a little bit of meat and gravy. Break the crust away completely and move it to a plate. And I did include a note where I did add a cup more of meat. So there we have it. So this will be a lovely lunch for us. I'm going to dish Jim up some just now. And this concludes our video for the day. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you can make one of these leftover pies. The taste is really yummy. So Happy New Year, and we will see you next week.